everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I am going to be talking about my most surprising books of 2019. Now, these are different than my favorite books of 2019 in just that these ones I wasn't expecting to love as much as I did, but I didn't put any books on here that actually made my top ones of 2019 list. So they're all different than that one. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more from me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And let's jump into the books. I chose just 5 of them for this list, and the first one on it is going to be The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. So I really got into Neil Gaiman this year. I read quite a bit by him actually, and I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. I know that this is one of his, I think it's a middle grade or a young adult, like a young end of young adult book. And so I really wasn't expecting to love it quite as much because I wasn't really in the middle grade mood at that time. It also, it sounded kind of cutesy, fun, like, oh, this will just be a cute little book about a little boy living in a graveyard, but it was so much more than that. I absolutely loved this book. This is about a young boy named Bod whose parents, his whole family really, is murdered when he is a baby. He crawls out to a graveyard, and then the ghosts in that graveyard decide to adopt him. He has this caretaker who kind of gets him food and all those things because the ghosts can't do that, and they just don't think about it because, you know, they're ghosts. They don't have to eat. And I absolutely loved it. It was very whimsical. There were things that happened in it that I wasn't expecting. I was just, wait a second. That just came out of the blue. That was way over in left field. And I feel like I could have either absolutely loved that or absolutely hated it. And I loved it. I think Neil Gaiman did a really, really great job with this book. And it was so much fun to read. So if you're looking for a cute book with very whimsical writing style, it kind of jumps around a lot. So don't expect a very contiguous plot that just keeps going on. Then I think this would be a great one. I think it's good for people that are just moving from the middle grade to the young adult section as well, because it's kind of right in the middle, in my opinion. And yeah, I really, really love this book. The next one on my list might be kind of surprising that it's on my most surprising list, but that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I just was taken by surprise with how the plot went in this book. I feel like I was not expecting it to be what it was, and that's not necessarily why it's on this list. It's a huge reason that I loved it as much as I did, but I just really, I don't know, I'm looking at the cover and this looks a little bit juvenile. It looks like something that might be a fun, very YA book that's all about romance, and this was very different than that, and I absolutely loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. It was actually my favorite of this trilogy. The first book was, I feel like, because the twists were just so good. This series is about a young girl who is living in Prague, and she is an artist, but she kind of lives a double life because she is running these errands for these creatures. They have animal and human characteristics to them, and she was raised by these people, so she is kind of involved in that world as well. And then something happens and the doors to that world are all destroyed and she can no longer access that. And so this is a story of her trying to figure out how to deal with that big thing that shook up her life, while also other characters being introduced into her life that she really wasn't expecting as well, and just her learning about where she comes from and what she needs to do in the future and the path that she needs to take. So this was definitely surprising because it was a lot more intriguing and fun for me to read than I was expecting, and it was a lot more developed and the characters were different than I was expecting. It wasn't quite as juvenile as I was thinking going into it, and I loved that. This is such an amazing series. I would definitely recommend it if you want to jump into YA fantasy. It has a little bit of an urban fantasy, but also an otherworld fantasy as well, so it throws like some portal fantasy in there with urban fantasy. It's great. I do recommend this to anyone who isn't scared of thick books and likes it's a little bit beautiful, flowery prose writing style. So beware of that when you're going into this, but it is a great trilogy. The next book on this list, I actually hesitated to put it on here because I was kind of expecting to enjoy it, but that is Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. It was so different than what I thought it would be, I guess. I loved the social commentary that went on in here that I was absolutely not expecting. This is a fantasy book about a girl who is half human, half dragon. She is living in the human world, and they are extremely prejudiced against dragons, and especially against half human, half dragons as well. So she is trying to navigate this world. She's an amazing musician, and she becomes the musician for the courts, or at least kind of the apprentice to the musician for the courts. And so she is in a very high-ranking position. She's involved in a lot of politics, and people don't know that she is half human, half dragon, and she's trying to keep it that way and hide it, but it's extremely difficult for her. I think that the social commentary that went on in here was amazing. It talked a lot about discrimination against people just because you're afraid or you don't understand them, and you don't realize that they aren't that different from you. It's not like they are naturally horrible beings just because they were born this way. And I just loved the characters in here. I loved what it was getting at and what it was talking about, and the way that the plot went. It was such a well-written book, and I absolutely love this one. There is a second one as well. It's a duology. The second one is called Shadow Scale. I didn't enjoy that one as much as I enjoyed Seraphina, but I think that that one did an amazing job talking about the social justices as well. So if you would like to get into a fantasy world that does discuss those really relevant topics in our world today, I would really recommend this duology. The next book on this list was one that was extremely hyped, so it shouldn't be surprising that I loved it as much as I did because everyone was saying that it was amazing. But this book is just out of my comfort zone. It's out of what I usually read, which tends to be fantasy. No shocker if you have watched any of my videos, but that is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is a mystery thriller. It takes place in, I believe, Scotland, if I remember correctly. A young girl has gotten a position as a nanny at this smart house where everything is controlled through an app or through online means, and she knows going in that several of the nannies previous to her have left rather quickly and abruptly because of very creepy things happening. So she goes in knowing that, but then these things begin happening. She's scared, the kids are a little creepy, the parents are gone, and it is so gripping. I couldn't put this book down. I was invested in it the entire time, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was just a really fun read. And I didn't necessarily expect to love it that much because thrillers weren't need to clarify, weren't my thing. I didn't think that they were a genre that I would particularly enjoy because I am a baby. I am such a scaredy cat, and I mean, I can't watch scary movies when I'm home alone. That's just not acceptable because when it's dark and I'm alone, I just can't take it. I don't even watch scary movies when I'm with someone. Like, let's be serious. I can't take scary. But apparently in books, I can, and I love it. So this book has taught me a lot, and I'm definitely going to be jumping into the thriller category more often because of it. And the last book on this list is one that I read for Believe-a-thon back in November, and I don't actually have it because I lent it out to someone else. I love it that much that I just want everyone to read it, and that is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, I believe. If I'm wrong, you'll see it up here, and yeah, that'll be great. But this book is a middle grade book, and that is really why I didn't expect to love it this much. I didn't think I was a huge fan of middle grade. Apparently this list is just me learning what I like, but I loved this book. It is about a young girl named Morgan Crow who is supposed to die on her 11th birthday, but she is rescued by a very eccentric man named Jupiter North, whisked away to a world called Nevermore, and is put into these trials to try to become a part of the Wonder Society, which is kind of their elite society of very talented beings in that world. And I love the characters, I love the world, I loved all the twists. I just thought it was amazing. The whole thing was so enjoyable. It was something that I was invested in. I think it was pretty long. I think it was close to 500 pages, somewhere between 400 and 500. And I just zoomed through that book. I couldn't put it down. Absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And it was a middle grade. I didn't expect to give a middle grade 5 out of 5 stars, but here we are. It's there, and I can't recommend Nevermore enough. If you're even slightly interested in middle grade, I would give it a try. And if you have any younger readers in your life that you think need a new good fantasy read, definitely suggest Nevermore. So that's it. That's the end of my list of the books that surprised me this year. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you have any comments on the books that I mentioned, definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what your most surprising book of the year was. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more from me, definitely subscribe down below. Hit the bell icon so you'll be alerted when I post new videos, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.